It's a sandstorm.
Wow, I wonder if I can get this entry in every board meeting I join. So for the boards I'm working, the companies I'm working with, hint, hint, okay? Now, good afternoon to everybody. I'm here in a very short presentation, trying to give you an idea what I have seen makes good CEOs and executive teams to succeed. Now, before I go into the topic, I'm trying to tell you why I think I'm actually pretty good about talking about this topic. First of all, I am what academia would call a practitioner. I live in a real life. I see what happens there. I see when they work, when things don't work. And what I do see is I have been working about 25 boards plus. So if I think about how many leadership types I've worked, 2 to 3 per company, I think also I have a quite good kind of quantitative understanding what goes on. So yes, I'm a practitioner. The second thing I'm a generalist. I do not have a one topic that I look into. I look for a broader perspective of what brings these teams to be successful. And the final thing what you will see today, is I'm really good at simplifying and making it very black and white. So hold on the ride, we're gonna look at this one. Now, I have tried to make it very simple. So what I'm going to talk today about is 3 essentials. Why do these teams succeed and how do they get there? And then I'm going to give you the 3 Fs. And no, they don't have the word up afterwards. They're just Fs which I'm going to cover. They're the secret spies that the good teams do. Now, let me give you one more point on this one. And this will be a bit of a downer for those management teams I work. On these 6 things, I do not see a single team doing them all the time to perfection. But what I do see is the good teams and the good executive teams, what they actually do, they do most of them most of the time. And the final point before I go and talk about these 6 things is simply to say, we've talked so much among my colleagues that we have what I would call a leadership gap in the Nordic markets. We have a brilliant young people with a brilliant educations, but we seem to be lacking a true leadership talent. So my point to talk to you here today is I hope I can give you some hints how to improve your leadership talents. Because guys, I will need them in the companies I'm working. So I'm doing this as kind of a recruitment pre-training event, okay? And by the way, I hope that most of you have the ambition to do something more or else that you're doing at the moment. So that's what it is. You will not need a PhD on space science to start to do these things. What you will need to do is to do things a bit differently every day, and you will be able to improve your leadership dramatically. I will now start with the 3 essentials, and bear with me, the first one is the only one that takes some thinking power. So, the first thing that really makes a difference between a successful CEOs and leader teams is that they really walk and talk self-leadership. Sometimes the word leadership is seen as leading others. I'm very clear on this one. You cannot lead others if you don't first lead yourself. Let me try to give you an example. If your boss, you're in the middle management, gives you a project, if you take this project, go to your team and saying, I got this project for my boss, let's go and do it. That's 0 leadership. 0. A good shelf leadership does, when you have a task or responsibility, you stop and you think. You might go back to your manager and saying, I thought about this one. Can we do a bit of a different way already now? You take responsibility you work proactively. When you have done this, you can lead your work and you can lead others. Now, I see that the top skilled CEOs and executive teams are usually people who unknowingly has been training this trade for years. Very often they've been good at sports. It requires some self-leadership to go and train when you're a young person. They've been good at arts. They've been good at spiders. They've done something that they haven't actually understood in their younger years, which has made them to train self-leadership. And the good thing of this one is you can always start to train your self-leadership. You're never too old of that one. Remember that one. The second day they're doing about self-leadership, and after having listened Adam, I got a bit afraid of using the preach and teach and spread words here, but I'm still saying it. What they do is they spread the self-leadership to the organization. So, again, a very, very simple example. When people come to them for help or support or coaching, instead of immediately jumping on the solution mood, they actually stop and ask the person who is responsible of this area or job, give me the 3 things you think could be solutions. This very simple thing of pushing back the self-leadership for those who are responsible is one thing that these people and these teams do, and they spread it, and it spreads in the organization. And the final thing is, I hate job descriptions. If all of you have job description, go home and scrap them. They do no good. What you should have is a responsibility descriptions. You might think it's a word, but it's not a word. This responsibility tells to the people who are doing whatever they are doing, what are their responsibility to do things better for the good of the whole company. So go for responsibility descriptions, not job descriptions. So this was about the most difficult thing today. The second thing that the good and very successful CEOs and leadership teams do is they are result-oriented. This sounds sometimes like a fee word, results. That's really rough. But let me tell you a couple of things on this one. When I mean results, I mean they get improved results. And listen, none of us wants to be part of a loser team. We all want to be part of the winner team. So getting better results actually ensure you get better people to work with you. But it also gets a motivation, as a self-motivation. We succeed, we can do more. I think more important, though, is that if the company keeps declining on the results, they will not have the funds to invest in sustainability, responsibility, training, people. You want to ensure that these teams keep their face on results all the time. The second thing in that sense is, a business of business is business. Business is not child's game. It's not a little child's play. It's not a little play you play and who wins and who loses does have no matter. A business is a game. It's a game when somebody wins and somebody loses. And to be very, very honest, you have to have some of that competitiveness in a positive sense, at least versus yourself, to be able to do it. And here's the final hint. If you sometimes think that you are unfavorably rated or unfavorably feedbacked, ensure that you have your measurements of your performance on numbers. Numbers does not mean only financial numbers. It might mean a date, it might mean some other kind of things, but please ensure you get measured on numbers. Because if you get measured on numbers, the face value of your performance goes to 0. And again, if you go back to self-leadership, if your boss does not ask you to be led by numbers, do it yourself. That is absolutely key for that one. The final thing of the essentials that the good teams do, they keep developing themselves and they keep developing the team. Why is this key? Absolutely key. It's really funny. We draw the organizations as boxes, square boxes, who reports to whom or whatever. If there's a one thing organization is not, it's not a box. Organization is organic, and it every day changes. So you have to keep training the people who are in the organization. You have to be curious to train yourself and get improved. You have to make sure that the team you're working with gets trained. And honestly, I'm not talking here about 6 months or 2 years MBAs, because all good leadership training happens on the job. But it means you do take time frequently to go out and learn new things, challenge yourself, and ensure that you do that. The final thing of developing the team is there is a point of time that some people are not anymore suitable for the job that they were. Maybe the job grew. Maybe these persons had another interest of their life. And let me say here, it is the most caring leadership if you take a discussion with your people who are not performing very upfront. Very often we are nice. We're nice, we don't want to take the difficult discussion. And to be very honest, being nice is being uncaring. Having a person in a job that does not perform for a longer period of time is torture. It's not being nice. Taking the difficult discussion is caring, and caring is what needs to be going on that well, specifically when the difficult discussions come and you change people. So, these were the 3 essentials. Not any kind of rocket or miracle space science that you need to do with these ones. Let me now come to the 3 secret spices, the 3 Fs. And these are the 3 Fs that whenever I enter to a new business, I can see them, I can notice them, and I can tell you, this makes a whole difference of being a good performing versus a high performing team. So the 3 Fs are forward orientation. You know, I do not want to talk about what happened a year ago, except we look at the past, we figure out the key learnings, and we use the good and bad learnings moving forward. And I'm talking something similar on this one, forward orientation. We spend too much time on fault finding. If I ever hear an organization spending time on whose fault this was, it is absolutely waste of time and absolutely clear sign that that team does not do a high performance job. So the whole going forward, yes, you look in the past to learn, and then you move forward to improve. Now, key thing on this one is what I'm trying to show in this little diagram is that you actually start in the end. Let's assume you're responsible of a division or a product X, and you want to increase the sales of this product X. What you should not do is to think, what do I do tomorrow to grow this product sales, for example? What you should do is you put yourself target in the future. In 2 years' time, I want to increase this product sales by 50% or double it. And then you look at that point of time and say, what has to be true on that point of time for this sales to be double? And then you go backwards. And thus you will actually end up tomorrow by doing that, all planning backwards. So you need to start end in mind. That's the forward orientation. The next one. If I'm ever asked, give me a one word that separates those who do well as a leadership teams, as a companies, versus those who don't. Here comes the word. Or maybe it doesn't. Focus. It's all about focus. Focus, focus, focus. Another word on top of job description you should kill, in my opinion, is prioritization. For me, prioritization is taking the 100 things you have and put them in an order from 1 to 100. Whereas focus as a concept is a situation when you look at those 100, you take 6, 7, whatever are the most important ones, and you park the rest. You either park them by not working with them, or you park them by ignoring and let them live on their own life. In business, in nearly every language I know, and I know quite a few, there is a saying that I hate, which is the small drops make a big river, or small drops makes a sea. That might be true in the nature, but it does not work in the business. In the business, it's all about fewer, bigger, better. It is about focusing. And one of the things that is I'm really scared is our youth and how much problems they have and how many mental problems they have. If they would learn to say no, if they would learn to focus and do less things, I'm quite sure that they would have it a bit easier. And us as parents, we have to help them to do that. I'll be very blunt. I have 3 grown-up kids. There were 15, 17 years of my life, I did 3 things. My kids, my husband, my job. I luckily have still friends who tolerated not hearing from me for a whole year. But these were so deep friendships, and whenever we saw, we could go on that one. I'm not a yoga teacher. I'm not a great cook. I am absolutely not good at baking. You don't want to eat what I bake, except banana cake. But you really don't want to do that. So we need to focus. This is the one word you need to do. Stop doing too many things. Fewer, bigger, better. Both on your private life and on your business life. The final thing, and I got a bit scared when I was doing this one, when I realized what the last one was, because it's all about fun. And this is the one thing I can feel when I come to a new company. And I'm not going to tell you which company, but I can feel within the last 3 years, I entered a company when I felt that the only fun on that team was when the boss told the bad joke, rest of the team was, you know, this top mouse type of laugh when you laugh when your boss tells bad jokes. What I mean by fun is not to have a clown in your team. I don't mean laughing, screaming laughter. I mean sense of humor. And why do I mean this one? What I have come to realize in all these years I've worked, that the teams that honestly laugh at themselves, nice teasing with each other, they trust each other. And when you trust each other, you dare to laugh for yourself, a bit for the others, in the nicest possible way. And that is so tangible on the teams. Now, I have to say one thing about this fun thing. It's been surprising for me how clear it is. And if I look at the big performing teams, if I look at the teams that used to not perform and they came into a perform, is because they were able to build the trust, and they were also able to build it by laughing at themselves. If there's one kind of person I will not employ, it's the one who has the beanie hat too tight on their head. You know, the guy who the blood can't circulate because they don't have absolutely no point of humor. Those people are pure poison for leadership teams. The good thing with this one is this also can be learned. Now, what I found out, because I had to start to check on this one, because I thought, geez, I can't come to tell all these smart people that what you should have is more fun. What kind of leadership thing was that? I found out there's two Stanford women who've done a study on this one, and found out that the leaders with a more sense of humor are 27 times more motivating. They are 6 times more alike to achieve high performance. And dear salespeople for my companies, having a bit of fun and humor in your sales pitch can give you a 20% higher price. You know who you are, and I know who I'm going to measure you in the future. This is absolutely essential because this actually tells you so much about teams. And this is specifically important when things go badly. When things go badly, you have 2 choices in the companies, or actually 3. You can cry, you can scream, or you can just say, make completely fool out of situation, and thus let the negative energy go out and move forward. So we have these 6 things. We have the 6 essentials, 3 essentials, which are the self-leadership, result-orientating, and train your people. The last one, all of you here can tick the box. because that's what you're doing at the moment. The 3 spices are focus orientation. No, it isn't. It's a future orientation, of course. It's a future focus. Future orientation, it is focus, 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 and then have fun. None of these things that I have talked to you about needs MBA, PhD, or any of that kind of things. What they need is regular training for you as a person. So, folks, what on earth is stopping you to become a better leaders? Thank you.
I think you're going to make me look bad if we start dancing.
I know.
That was super helpful.
Hope
and
so.
I got to say, I, for one, love your direct communication style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a diplomat, if you've kind of figured that out.
I think that's fantastic. I'm not being ironic at all. I wish more people spoke the way you did. There's a bunch of traction around this one question, so I'm going to dive right in.
Go on.
We've got a question. Someone writes, and many thumbs up. Focus concept is so basic. Why do you suppose it is that the majority of C-level leaders either do not understand its value or don't support those trying to work according to the concept?
It's very difficult to say no. It's very simple. In order for you to focus, you have to say a no for a lot of things. And that's why I actually recommend the parking place, because the other alternative is you kill projects. And people don't like projects be killed. They stay alive. You know, if I kill your favorite project, biking around, you'll still be biking around. So you have to park them so people know, okay, they didn't die, but they are waiting for them to come from the garage to do that way. But it requires choices. And that's why strategy is also difficult, because you have to choose what you do and what you don't do. And sometimes people think the reason it is difficult is because people don't figure out, and how do I choose? You know, how do I choose the right things? And that's a simple question. You have to understand your business. And in your business, you have to understand where's money made. Always follow the money. On crimes, whatever you do, follow the money.
Can I ask a follow-up? Do you feel like people, when you say we're going to park this idea, don't you think people learn that the parking lot is actually the demolition derby?
Listen, the funny thing with this one is, what I have seen in reality is that they actually usually demolize or explode the project by himself. Because it's been parking place 6 months and say, we don't really need that. No, we don't really need that. Or they say, no, it's not the right time. But for me, the parking place has to be visual. If you just say we park them and then they die. We had, in my old leadership team, we had a whole parking list. And then we went through the parking list once in a quarter, and you know, most of the project died by themselves.
So there's another question a lot of folks are jumping on. I'm gonna jump on it myself, and then I'm gonna come out to y'all for a question. You said you need to start from the end, and there's agreement from Rita, from whom this question comes, but the world changes rapidly. How do you lead the changing end? I assume you can't lock the targeted end.
But you know, the point is that one is, if you say in the end, you say, let's just keep it very simple and saying you want to double the sales of product X.
I do.
I love to.
I want to double the biking around project.
Yeah. But you want to do that one. So what you actually have to say, you have to keep on that in mind. Then things happen. I mean, Corona is a fantastic example of that one. Then it might be not anymore 2 years' time, but it has to be 3 years' time. But what I learned from the point of Corona, quite many things happened in years' time, because suddenly you got focused, suddenly you were only doing the important things, and voila, they actually came quicker. So for me, yes, you have to, of course, adjust because things happen. But then you have to not necessarily adjust the step, you have to adjust both the steps. And it might be that the endpoint moves ahead slightly, or you might learn that the competition did a better product X and you're dead.
Again, very clear, very clear. Who's got a question out there? Who's got a question? There's one right up here. I don't see any. Here it is, right here. Next to two folks that are dressed so awesomely, I don't know what to say except for
I love to have them in there. They're very, very kind of energetic. Yes,
right?
yes.
It's blown
Hey,
away.
it's Minna Ruusuvuori from Lahtiat and Here Media. I would like to ask that why having fun is so difficult for Finnish people. Why we are so afraid of having a laugh and enjoying and having those few jokes.
I think that actually it's not just a Finnish problem. I think because laughing is partially being conflict. You know, it's exposing yourself. It is telling a bad dad joke, and then you're like, oh God, that was really bad. And it requires you explode. But the good thing is that if you tell a bad joke, there's one person you can laugh at, and it's yourself. Oh God, that was a bad joke, ha ha ha. So and by laughing at yourself, you actually do that. But I think it goes back on trust. And it goes on actually another topic. And bear with me, but I working with different countries, what I find the most difficult in Finland, very many oftentimes, is we are fault finders. We're so focused whose fault something was that we spend the energy on the history and fault finding. I mean, just look at the politics at the moment. Whose fault was it? Instead of saying, stop it, we are where we are, let's move forward. And if you have that forward-looking thing and you have this guts to fail, if I had to take the bike, I would be flat on here on the floor. But, eventually you realize when you do stupid things, you realize nobody died, the company is still there, and actually we all laughed and had a good time. So, daring. Finns are very good with sisu. And sisu sometimes gets translated, we're in the bloody moss, and we're in the moss for this deep. We're really good, we're still stamping on the moss for 2 weeks. You maybe better get out of the bloody moss and move forward, versus being a sisu and being able to stamp there forever. So sometimes we kind of go backwards with our really good natural trait, which is, if we would use the sisu to move forward versus that standing in the mess, we could get so much more out of this country.
If I had fallen down, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You can be sure that if I had fallen down, I would have made one of my world-famous bad dad jokes.
I know.
Anyway.
You seem to have a lot of them.
Yeah, indeed, thanks. We're preparing a 2-person show we're gonna take on the road. It's called She's Mean to Me on Stage. So there's a lot of traction here with the thought, a lot of agreement that being nice is being uncaring.
Yes.
So let me just say, I know you care about me.
I do. I'm unnice to him.
Being nice is uncaring. I'm kidding. But why then do Finnish labor laws allow people who do nothing to stay rooted at their jobs with no circumstances?
They should not. Honestly, the labor laws in the whole Nordics, I have a case in another Nordic country where a person during a half kind of strike situation physically abused a colleague. I mean, went on hitting on that one. And we could not fire that person. We decided to fire that person because there's no way our employees can be physically attacking each other. We went to the court, we got fined, and we had to pay the guy 3 years' salary. This is an issue. We should be able to fire people for evidenced bad behavior. This was pretty evidence because the other guy ended up in hospital. So I thought for the court reasons you would have enough evidence. But listen, on the other hand, look at yourself. If you have a boss, if you're a boss of that kind of people, there's definitely somebody's fault in there. It's either on the employee or it's on you.
I just want to point out that someone notes, William notes that you should start doing TikToks. I think it's
I don't have a time for that one.
Well, your friends will excuse you. You take a year and do TikToks.
Yeah. I'm sure the companies will do fine and I just TikTok.
Someone asks, where does vulnerable leadership find a place in the 3 essential Fs?
Actually, in the fun part.
The essentials and the 3 Fs.
And I think there's a couple of places there, actually. The first thing is the self-leadership. I believe we will all feel more powerful if we are able of leading ourselves and making the decisions ourselves versus being put the decisions on there. So I think that's where the courage comes for yourself. Take the hand for yourself. And the second thing is very much on this fun and trusting thing. I just took the fun as a visual signal that there's a trust. But trust comes between the people. And sometimes when I work with the boards, just side comment, the boards are the most odd team there is. We meet about 7 times a year. We never train, and we then do an Olympic performance, so-called. So how do you build a team when you never train? But that is a good way of trying to build those teams. And you need to build it individual. Trust is not a systematic thing. Trust is between people. And it takes time, and you take the effort, and you have to spend the time to do that.
I'm going to leave it there. That's a fantastic answer. I think we're all looking forward to subscribing to your TikTok channel. My good friends, please say farewell to Sanna Suvanto-Harsaae. It was a pleasure.
Pleasure for you. Thanks.
It's a sad story.